Hey Pilates party people, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Caroline and today we have a full reformer flow here on your reformer. We don't need any other equipment, just yourself. Coming down into footwork to start, we'll need 2 heavy springs and 1 medium spring. Maybe the headrest is lifted for yourself. Choose what feels good and sweep nice and long onto the spine. Head onto the headrest, heels onto the foot bar. We'll take a gentle lift of the sit bones and slide that tailbone nice and long so the spine feels a little longer here. The shoulders are softly away from the shoulder rests, and we'll heel toe those feet out to either side of that reformer foot bar. So the toes are going to turn out, heels are going to turn in, knees tracking over the second toe, and the hands are going to find the hips just for a little bit of stability in the pelvis. As you exhale, keep that nice neutral spine, press away from the heels. You'll feel that the springs are very heavy today, and we love it that way. Inhale, fold, almost to the stoppers. Before the stoppers, we press on that exhale. Inhale to soften back in. Last 6, just like this. Pressing through the heels, making sure those knees are tracking over the second toe. Those hips have that nice external rotation or just that opening through the front of the hips. Last 3, we're going to take it nice and slow today. For 2, because slow is strong. And that last one, we'll press away nice and long. Inhale to fold halfway towards those stoppers, that middle line. Little pulses here. Press through the heels, soften through the toes, but keep that press, that pulse through the heels. Last 4, last 3, last 2, last 1. Pause here at that halfway line. Keep the pelvis nice and still. You can even transfer the hands just to the front of the hips. Take a nice inhale, and as you exhale, without moving the hips, lift that right leg to tabletop, but with that external rotation. And tap it back down, just in the space that it's created. And then lift the other side. I'm tipping a little bit. And tap back down. We'll try to keep the pelvis nice and still, the carriage nice and still. We do have heavy springs, so there might be a little bit of movement here for 4. Last 3. Last 2. And that last 1. Both heels on the foot bar, press through the heels, exhale, press out. Inhale, drawing in all the way, close the stoppers here. Heel toe those feet to a little bit more than hip width distance apart. So not quite at the sides of that reformer foot bar, but slightly inward. Those toes are still turned out, the heels are still turned in. We'll press away nice and long, hands back onto the hips. Internal rotation, toes turn in, knees knock. As you draw back towards the stoppers, or right before, we'll turn out, press out, external rotation, turn in, pull in, internal rotation. So we're dancing between the two, finding that mobility through the hip joint and finding that dance through the legs. If you ever need to recenter, always stopping back at the stoppers, recenter, maybe center those feet once again. They are on the move, they are on that groove. And as you draw in, feeling that sensation of widening through the back of the sit bones. As the knees knock, the sit bones widen. Last 2. And that last 1. Knees knock. This time we'll draw all the way back into the stoppers. Take those feet to parallel and take them hip width distance apart. If you have that headrest lifted, offering here to lower it down for that bridging series. Heels are hip width distance apart. Rock those shoulders away from the shoulder rests. Arms sweep down nice and long by the side, but we're going to turn the palms of the hands to face those hips. Take a nice inhale here, spine is nice and long. Exhale, scoop the tail, imprint the lower spine, and slowly lift up. And as you lift vertebrae by vertebrae, those arms draw over the chest as if you're holding or presenting a present out in front. And as you inhale, breathing a nice big belly breath, rib hip connection. Exhale to slowly melt down. Bring those arms with you. As the vertebrae land, the arms start to sweep nice and long. Just to the hips. Exhale. We find that breath. Inhale. Exhale. Keep going here. Last two. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. That inhale at the bottom. Reset, recenter. Exhale, sweep up for the last round. We'll pause at the top of this round, pause at the top of that bridge. Make sure those knees are tracking over the second toe, just under those hips. Plug those shoulders into the shoulder sockets, into that carriage. And then inhale to dip the hips halfway down. Keep a nice flat back, a nice long spine. Exhale, lift those hips up to the sky, rib hip connection in the front. Lowest rib towards the front of those hips. Inhale, dip. Exhale, lift. Last three. Last two. And that last one. Engage through the glutes, lift those hips, engage through the core, rib hip connection, and then just the arms are on the move. Those arms sweep down as if they're brushing into glassy water, and then reach back up over the hips, over the chest, and sweep down towards those hips. The reformer, hips over the chest. Last one. Whew. All right, inhale at the top, exhale to slowly melt down through the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. Those arms can follow with. Draw those knees into the chest, wrap those arms around and have a little rock or sway from side to side, massaging the spine, the back of the hips, the back of the head, the shoulders, stretching out through the glutes. They've just worked nice and hard. One more breath here. And then we'll draw back to center, taking the hands onto the underhand grip, so under the thighs, under the knees. Exhale to lift the head, neck, and shoulders. Press the thighs away and drape those legs over the foot bar, or maybe coming into a nice seat, scooting back, just so that you can change those spring loads. I am going to keep one medium spring on. I really like that medium spring just for our side lie. All right, your offering here is to have a block just under the head or lift that headrest here. All right, let's lay nice and long onto the side, either side, and then scoot that bum right up to the very back of that reformer. So the very back or the side of that reformer, the bum should be right up against that so that the hips are just flush with that back side. All right, fold the knees into a tabletop position. Take that top hand and then take that top strap, pull that strap just to the top foot, wrap it around. Beautiful, make sure it's nice and comfy. Wrap that underhand just around. I have a peg here. I like to wrap my hand around the peg, alternatively around the shoulder rest. That top hand is on the top hip, just making sure those hips are nice and square. And then inhale to lift that top knee so it's in line with that hip. So knee, hip in alignment, and that ankle should follow suit. Make sure the toes are pointing to face towards the side or the screen. And as you exhale, kicking through the heel, heel aligns with the spine at the back as if you're pressing and kicking towards that foot bar. And then inhale to fold back in, just a tabletop. Exhale with that control, kick out. Heel kicks towards that foot bar as if you're gonna stand on that foot bar, and then fold back in. Exhale, press. That strap should be just in the middle of that kneecap. So as you fold in, right in the middle of that kneecap. If it's above or below, check in on your alignment and that form through the top hip, the top knee, and those toes pointing towards the side. Alternatively, it might just be the way your reformer is designed. Some have a little bit higher and some have a little bit lower into that kind of hold or that mechanism at the top, and that will affect it. Last one, we'll kick out nice and long. Pausing at that length, step onto that foot bar here in your mind, and then slowly soften the knee, sweep the sole of the foot towards the camera or towards the side of your reformer. And then exhale, press nice and long. So keep that control, hip, knee, ankle in that beautiful alignment. Imagine there's a ruler on the top, just keeping you in line. The hips stay nice and long here or nice and square, stacked onto one another. And there's a little lift in the lower abdominals. So gently lifting the lower ribs up towards the spine, engaging through that core. One more round. And this time we'll sweep that leg out in front. Show me the sole of your foot. Little pulses up and down for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pressing nice and long. Fold the knee and then take that strap. We'll just take it just above that kneecap. So just the lower part of the thigh here. That big loop might fit around. If it doesn't, that's okay. Do this without the strap. Heels bind together as if they're super glued together. And as you exhale, lift the top knee. The reformer will move just slightly. And then inhale to soften down. Hips stay nice and still, nice and square. 4. Last 3. And of course, we'll add a pulse at the end after these 2. And after this 1, keep those hips nice and square. Exhale, lift a little pulse at the top. Lift that knee a little higher. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly melt down. All right, take that strap off of that leg, and take it on to that peg or that shoulder rest. Sweeping around to do it on the other side. So slowly turning yourself this side. You can definitely see that my hips are going to draw just nice and square towards the back of that reformer or the side of that reformer here. The knees are nice and square. They round here, or they don't round. They fold at the hip, 90 degrees. Fold at the knee, 90 degrees, as if you're sitting into a nice, beautiful seat here. And then from here, we have that lower hand wrapping around either your peg or your shoulder rest. Top hand on the top hip, lifting the lower abdominals just a little bit. So lifting the lower rib towards the spine. Knee, hip, and ankle are in line. Exhale, press, stand through that leg. Again, what I said on the other side with that strap applies here. Try to let that strap be right in the middle of that knee as you come to standing. Oh, it's getting stuck on my shoulder rest there. Last 4, which means I'm not lifting my leg up high enough. Oops. Last 3. Last 2. And that last 1. Sweep it forward. Exhale back. Just going as far as feels good. This is a lot on the hamstrings, a lot on the glutes. Exhale, press it back. Use that exhale, hug the lower abdominals towards the spine, nice and strong. Last 3. Last 2. Last 1, press out nice and long. This time we're going to sweep forward, pausing here. Little lifts and lower of that leg for 4, 3, 2, and then let's press it back. Fold the knee in towards the other knee. Take that strap and just shimmy shake it all the way up, just above that kneecap. Ankles bind together. The lower abdominals are still lifted up to the sky. Those hips are nice and square. And then just lifting that top knee. Exhale, lift. Inhale, low. Exhale, lift. Inhale, low. Last 5. Last 4. Last 3. Last 2. And that last 1, we pause, we find that little pulse for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower down. Coming right on back in, take that strap down. Coming back onto the spine here, we'll take a little bit of a figure 4, a little figure 4 stretch. So take that right leg, crisscross it over the left top of the thigh, close to that knee, and then option to take that right hand and just press that knee away, opening that hip. Alternatively, if it feels good, draw that left knee into the chest. You'll feel this a little bit deeper, either taking the hands and wrapping them around the left shin, or a little bit easier, not much, around the left thigh. Last 2 breaths. And then slowly take the soles of the feet uncrisscrossed down to the shoulder or down to the foot bar. Crisscross applesauce on the other side. Option here, press the left hand to the left knee. Option to take it a little deeper, lace under the thigh, or a little lace under or on top of the shin. Whew. Last 2 breaths. And then soles of the feet are going to land onto that foot bar once again. Whew. Center yourself, and when you're ready, we'll turn onto our right side and rock on up into a seated position. Take your time to lift up into your lunge position. We have been laying down for quite a while, so sometimes this can feel a little bit of a lightheadedness. Just take it slow. We'll get there. We'll keep it on that medium spring or bump it up to that medium spring or your lunge springs. Take the outside foot right up against that reformer. For me, that's the right. Inside heel up against the shoulder rest. Hands can be onto the foot bar. Hand can be on the foot bar, one hand on the hip, or hands can be on the hips here. Square off those hips as if you have 2 shining lights just onto the front of those hip bones, pointing towards the foot bar or the front of the room. Rock those shoulders up, back, and down into the back pockets. Lowest rib towards the spine, engaging through the core. Hug the lower abdominals towards the spine as well. Take a nice inhale here, and as you exhale, split stance squat. Soften into those knees, fold into those knees, hinge into those hips, and then kick back through that kick back heel, pressing nice and long, standing leg stays still. Fold the knees, hinge into the hips, and then press to that standing leg. Fold, hinge, and press. Fold, hinge, and press. Last 2, hinge, press, fold, hinge, press. Last 1, hinge, press, fold, hinge, press. From here, we're going to fold, hinge, press it back. This is our start position. So inhale, fold, exhale, press. It's our scooter time. You can have that option of taking the hand or hands onto that foot bar, or they stay on the hips. For 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause that length. Little lifts and lowers through that standing leg. So little pulses through that standing leg, still kicking back through that kick back heel and keeping those hips nice and square. We're here for 4, 3, 2, 1. Folding back in, fold the knee, hinge the hips, and step to the side. Whew. Take a little bit of a break if you want one, and we'll step right back into it. So I'm going to adjust my hair a little bit because I have been moving and grooving and it is showing. All right, step back into your lunge. So outside foot right up against that reformer, inside heel up against that shoulder rest. You're more than welcome to keep those hands onto the foot bar and stick with those scooters. Alternatively, we're going to find a little bit of rotation. So the hands find the temples here. We're going to fold into those hips, fold into those knees, hinge from those hips, press out nice and long. Turning the elbow furthest away from that bent knee, towards that bent knee and towards the foot bar, drawing back to center and fold in. So it's that exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. 2. Last one. Fold, hinge, and press. Hands draw onto the shoulder or the foot bar here. And we'll gently step up into standing on that reformer. Feet are zipped together as if they're bound together. Ankles and those big toe mounds. Press the palms of the hands, shoulder width distance apart, into that reformer, thumbs over the foot bar. Lift the heels, fold the knees as if you're coming into a very awkward seat. Shoulders and wrists stay in that beautiful alignment as you exhale to press away into that plank. Turn the toes to one side, hips to the other, and then fold the knees in under those hips. Press, pivot to center. Fold, press, pivot to the other side, and fold. Press, center, press, other side. Last one, through center. Last one, to the other side. Press out nice and long, pivot back to center, tip those hips up to the sky, and let those heels melt towards that reformer. Once you come into those stoppers, wring out those wrists, drape them over the foot bar, and we'll step on to the other side when you're ready. So with the hands stepping off, with the feet. All right, are you ready for it? Outside leg right up against that reformer, inside heel up against that shoulder rest. Get nice and cozy. Let those hips be nice and square. Find what feels good with your hands. And for me, those hands melt onto the hips. Squaring out, just making sure you're nice and comfortable. Lower abdominals are engaged. That lowest rib draws towards the spine, but the shoulders stay in the back pocket. We're nice and strong, nice and long. Fold into the knees, hinge from the hips, and then kick it back. Fold, hinge, and press. We're starting from the beginning. On the other side though, it feels a little different. Maybe the balance is different. Maybe just the way it feels in the body feels a little different, and that's okay, just noticing. We'll be here for 3. Last 2. That last one. All right, we're transitioning into those scooters. So fold, hinge, press, and pull. Press, and pull. Hips are still nice and square, spine is still nice and long, and we're hugging those lower abdominals towards the spine. 4, 3, 2, press it out, pause here. Little lifts and lowers through that standing leg. That carriage shouldn't move all too much, but it'll move a little bit for 3. Last 2, and that last one, rebend into that standing leg, fold the knees, hinge the hips, and press it up. If you want a little bit of a break, shake out those limbs and let's get right back to it. We have that rotation option to keep scootering, option for that rotation. So step the outside foot right up against that reformer, inside heel up against that shoulder rest, hips are nice and square. And then once we've checked in, those hands find the temples. We keep the chest nice and open, the shoulders nice and soft, fold into the knees, hinge from those hips, and then press it out. Pause here. Opposite elbow to opposite knee. Draw back to center. Fold in. Here we go for 4. Last 3. Last 2. And that last one. Draw back to center, hinge from those hips, and press it up. Whew. Option to keep those weights on that medium spring. I'm going to choose to take it down just to a light spring for arm work. So in this arm work, take down that headrest if it's lifted. Take those knees onto the reformer, just making sure that you have a little bit of space between you and those shoulder rests. And then grab a hold of just the right loop or one of those loops in the hand, sweeping those hands so that they're just nice and parallel with one another. And as you exhale, option to stay low, option to sweep the arms, and option to lift. Inhale to slowly melt down. So it's that exhale, engage the core, sweep it up, engage those glutes, and melt down. The spine stays nice and long, flat back. Take it slow. There is a lot of balance here, and you always have the option to stay low. Last 2. And this last one, we'll find that salute or that diamond shape. So turn the palms, lift them up a little higher. Palms of the hands facing towards the front, index finger and those thumbs together. And then we'll find a hinge through the spine or a hinge through the hips, folding into the hips towards the heels. And then we'll find a press of that diamond towards the forehead and reach it out. And reach it out. Last 2. Last one. And then slowly come back up to a nice tall motion here, reaching those arms out to the side and drape them down to the hips as you land into those heels. Taking that strap just behind you into its resting place and take it on to the other side. One last movement, one last side, and you are done and dusted. Well done, well done. Hands are just nice and long by the side, palms facing down. Option to stay seated, option to lift, with that option to reach those arms. Inhale. Exhale. Now it's a controlled movement here, engaging through that core. Use that exhale. Hug the lower abdominals, hug the lowest rib. Keep it nice and engaged. The shoulders soft. Last 4. Last 3. 2. And this last one, we pause. Turn the palms, hinge into those hips, and fold and press. That diamond shape. 4. 3. 2. 1. Press away. Sitting up nice and tall or kneeling nice and tall. Sweep the hands down to the hips and melt those hips towards the heels. You are done and dusted. Well done today. Whew. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you want to see anything on this channel or have a certain practice in mind or want to work on anything in particular, just let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next time. Bye.